Tonight on Q2, on school grounds.
We also want to respect students' privacy, especially when they're entitled to that privacy. And we also want to respect parental rights.
With concerns on the rise, School District 2 releases guidance if ICE agents begin to show up on campus. Plus, center of controversy.
People equated it with a concentration camp and that we were creating a detention center.
Yellowstone County commissioners face backlash from dozens after they offer up Metro Park to house illegal immigrants.
92.5 Mojo, the greatest hits of all time.
And a man in need of no introduction.
He sent me a telegram and the salary was in there. I started at 48 hours a week.
A Montana Broadcasting Hall of Famer continues to get behind the microphone at 92 years old. The MTN 10 o'clock news starts right now.
From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for joining us on this Monday night. I'm Russ Riesinger. President Donald Trump's promise to crack down on illegal immigration is impacting Billings in several ways tonight. School District 2 has issued guidance to teachers and staff at all schools in case immigration and customs enforcement agents show up on school grounds. Well, that is yet to happen. It may, as the Trump administration has rescinded a 2021 memo that designated schools and other community services as protected areas. Tonight, David J. has more on the guidance and the district's plans moving forward.
Superintendent Garcia sent the letter out to everybody in School District 2 and addressed it to team to make sure that everybody's following the protocols if ICE agents should come onto campus. It's all about student safety and making sure that everybody follows the procedures.
So I send communication to all principals, all employees of the district regarding our protocol.
Superintendent Dr. Erwin Garcia's letter stated a Department of Homeland Security rule has been rescinded. Garcia writes it is unclear whether this policy change will mean ICE enforcement activities will take place on school property. Some around the country say the chances of enforcement happening has been historically low. And Garcia told the board that is what he has learned.
I researched how many instances have we had any raids of schools in the nation. The answer to that is 0. No raids have been made in any schools.
The letter used by others around the country from the School Superintendents Association states that school personnel should first contact the superintendent and then ask for any paperwork such as subpoenas and warrants.
They don't have to self-incriminate, number one, so they can remain silent, and we want to ensure that those rights are respected as well.
One school board member asked about the requirement to cooperate with ICE and immigration officials, as the plan also states any interview request with students will first have to go through the school district's attorney before being granted.
Have you looked at that and coming up with this process?
No. This doesn't actually trip any law enforcement compliance from the side of the district. This actually ensures that we follow the law because that's number one rule, but also that we ensure that the rights of DAS students are protected.
Other trustees also had concerns.
My concern would be the least disruptive process possible if this ever happened.
I wholeheartedly agree with this, that we have to be standing there for our kids and protecting them.
We're next to Canada. If we're going to have illegal immigrants, we better be looking at both sides of the border.
Montana is not necessarily the epicenter of any type of raids, but that doesn't mean that we should lower our guard.
In Billings, David J., MTN News.
Meanwhile, dozens joined together at today's packed county commissioners meeting, voicing their displeasure over a plan to turn Metro Park into a detention facility for illegal immigrants. MTN's Marcus Kakova has more on that heated discussion and what's next for the event center.
We've all heard a lot about Metro Park in the last half week.
Primeramente, les quiero dar las gracias por permitirme el tiempo hoy para darle una voz a todos aquellos que se sientan sin el dicho de ese derecho en este momento.
The event space remains the center of concern for Billings' Hispanic and Latino community members.
We're here because we want to be a part of the community and part of the American fabric.
It takes courage to leave everything you know behind in order to start over.
It's a demographic that makes up less than 10% of Billings. making some community members question how the issue of lack of documentation could be such a big deal here to necessitate Metro Park.
We don't have an illegal immigrant problem, we have a white nationalist problem.
County Commissioner Mark Morse says, however, his proposal to turn Metro Park into a detention center is something more of a hypothetical.
That was an invitation to say to the federal government, if you're going to come here, we can help you. And the reason that's important is, as people pointed out here in their discussion today, the jail is overcrowded.
Morse says there's currently no space to hold undocumented immigrants, should large-scale immigration roundups occur. He says he thinks his letter is somewhat misunderstood by the public, with some expressing a concern that people of color will be targeted.
I think it's miscommunication. They think that this is a done deal. They think that we are opening a detention center at Metro Park, and they think that we are targeting them. That is not the case. We are targeting criminals.
However, for people like Shirley Marin, the issue isn't just about legality. It's also about the social and moral implications of conflating people of color with criminality, whether documented or not.
My child, a 9-year-old, has already been called a border crosser. He is a U.S. citizen. His father served in the military and fought in 2 wars. Why does my child have to be subjected to that because of the color of his skin?
She says no matter someone's citizenship status,
Todos como seres humanos tenemos el derecho de ser tratados con respeto y dignidad. Thank you.
Marcus Kakova, MTN News.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Meanwhile, Montana Representative Troy Downing is backing the idea, saying, quote, "Thank you to Commissioner Morse and the rest of the Yellowstone County Commissioners for standing up for our community. My office and I are ready to assist your coordination with the Trump administration to detain criminal illegal aliens. Your actions set the standard for the nation." Troy Downing is set to meet with Yellowstone County Commissioners this Friday. It remains unclear if this Metro Park proposal will be discussed. One Montana family is using personal tragedy to make a push for stricter DUI laws in Montana. Bobby Dubry was celebrating his 21st birthday when he was hit and killed by a drunk driver outside of Columbia Falls. Today, his family told their story to lawmakers at the Capitol, spreading the word about a proposed bill bearing his name.
It's so important to us as a family to know that through this tragedy, we're doing something positive. We're trying to find some way so that it doesn't feel that Bobby died in vain. And so this has been a healing experience for us.
Dubry's sister, Carly, and mother, Beth, were among the family members who testified in favor of House Bill 267, called Bobby's Law. That law would create a new criminal offense, aggravated vehicular homicide while under the influence. The goal of the bill is that anyone who causes a death while driving with a blood alcohol level twice the legal limit would be subject to a stricter penalty. No one spoke in opposition of that legislation. Also at the Capitol, Montana lawmakers heard Senate Bill 154, a proposed legislation that would ban the sale or purchase of fetal tissue here in the Treasure State.
So essentially what this bill does is it seeks to regulate what we do with human tissue, particularly human fetal tissue. And basically says you cannot sell it, you can only donate it.
SB 154 would also prohibit the sale of whole human bodies, which is not currently regulated in Montana at the state level. Opponents of the bill say it is unneeded since the selling of human tissue, including fetal tissue, is illegal under the Uniform Anatomical Gift Act. However, supporters say the bill brings Montana law in line with the federal law and ensures fetal tissues aren't traded as a commodity.
Were typical for this time of the year as we take a look at the almanac with the Stockman Bank weather cam. 37 for the afternoon high today, but what stood out? The gusty winds again up to 44 miles per hour. We'll see some of that wind again tomorrow, but I also wanted to point out some of the cold morning temperatures, especially once we start getting to the west of Billings. Minus 10 this morning in Bozeman, 8 below in Butte, 17 for you in Livingston, and 6 below down in Warland. Forecast coming up.
The Montana Department of Commerce says it will not reopen applications for the Homeowner Assistance Fund, which is part of the home repairs program. This federally funded temporary program was established during the 2021 legislative session to assist in home repairs of low-income households. The department says there are no longer enough funds in the program to support new applications, but those received before the deadline of October 24th of last year will continue to be reviewed and processed. Other homeowner assistance fund programs like mortgage reinstatement and lien prevention will remain open until all the funds have been used.